Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Land of Brand Laboratory, or as we like to call it, the LOBoratory. This is your host, master guide, and lead Mad Brand scientist, Holly Chantal. And if you've never joined us before, we meet every Wednesday, 12 o'clock Eastern Time, and we talk about different experiments in your brand. That's why this is a laboratory, because we're always trying new things, growing our brand, seeing what works, what doesn't work, and what can be improved. So every week I bring you another topic and we talk really quick, actionable strategies you can go ahead and try with your own brand. Today we're going to talk about the simplest way to organize your goals, and we're talking easy peasy. I get a lot of questions about how do you do everything, how do you keep your to-do list, how do you make sure you're always moving towards your goals. A couple weeks ago we did a call on your bucket list for 2014, where really what we did was break down your goals and your big picture items for the year down into what we call buckets that you can kick. So really small tasks, small to-dos, and some of them were a little outlandish. Some were, steps that led you toward a goal, and some were just completely unrelated to your business and just fun things that you wanted to do. Or they might be fun things you want to do that are related to your business, like go to a conference that's in a tropical place or those kinds of things. So after that, people asked me, well, if I'm writing down 100 buckets that I want to kick for 2014, how do I keep them all organized? So this is my experiment in how to keep your goals organized and make sure that you are always moving toward them. So today's topics, we're going to talk about why goals should not be like moles. The number one tool you need to go buy right now, it'll probably cost you about $5, and we're going to talk about a new kind of wall art and what these all have to do with organizing your goals. So what's the difference between goals and moles? Well, moles are blind, they live underground, and they eat worms. Obviously, you don't want your goals to be any of those things. You don't want it living underground where you can't see them. You don't want them to be blind without purpose, and I'm pretty sure eating worms is a given. Goals, on the other hand, do have a purpose. They give you purpose. They give you something to shoot for and something for you to focus on in your day-to-day activities. And in order to do that, they need to be under your nose at all times. So if you are not seeing them all the time, they might as well be living underground because you're going to forget about them. And all these busy work, these emails you're sending, these campaigns you're putting together, the client work you're doing, these sales calls you're making, all that productivity is just going to become busy work if you're not moving in a focused direction. And if you don't know what that direction is, then that's exactly what's happening. And what do they eat? They eat your confidence. If you're not achieving your goals, then you feel less confident. And if at the end of 2014 you go back and you look at all the goals you had and everything you didn't actually accomplish, it hurts. It hurts you right here. And then you start making your goals for 2015 and you wonder, can I do that? Or is there really a purpose in me making these goals if I'm not really going to pay attention to them anyway? So that's why it's really important that we keep them top of mind, we keep them organized so that you can look at them every day and make sure you're consistently moving forward. And this doesn't have to be difficult. So let's bring them into the sunlight. Let's bring them out from underground where you're going to see them. So remembering your goals is going to make them 100% more achievable. Because if you forget your goals, what's the point? You need to make them an everyday part of your life, and how you do that does not matter. So people always ask me, what tools do you use? What pieces of software? Doesn't matter. Whatever works for you. Buying an expensive piece of software is not going to help you if you don't use it. So that's why what I'm going to give you today is a very, very simple way to keep your goals in front of you. Doesn't require fancy software. It doesn't require fancy anything. And before I move to the next slide, where I'm going to give you this magical tool that you guys are waiting for, I do want to say that I can't take 100% credit for this. One of my friends, and actually she's a client, does this. We were in a mastermind for the last couple of years, and this was her idea, and I just thought it was so brilliant that I had to share it with you. So the number one tool that you need to go out and buy right now, you can find at pretty much any store that sells office supplies. Giant Post-it notes. Seriously. So how are you going to use giant Post-it notes? Well, you can put them all over your wall, put them on the back of your door if you don't want everyone seeing them, and literally this is going to put your goals in front of you at all times. So what do? You can draw a scale that goes from 0 to kick butt and put that on your Post-it note, and as you start moving forward, you start doing little tick marks as you get closer and closer to kicking butt. Or you see these all the time at fundraisers or at like team meetings and that kind of thing, where you have maybe a thermometer that's moving up or some kind of vessel that's being filled as you reach your goals. Get artistic, get creative, do whatever you want. But basically the point here is that you're tracking yourself as you go so that you're seeing your progress. Now obviously that's not going to take up a whole Post-it note unless you get really creative, which you're welcome to do. So below or near where you're putting the scale, what you want to do is write down the tasks that's going to take you to that goal. So this is where that bucket list comes in. So the bucket list are those small bite-sized pieces that you can just kick. They don't necessarily take a lot of work. Some will, some won't. But the more you're writing down, even if it's send 3 emails to potential joint venture partners or write a newsletter 4 times this month, those kind of small little bite-sized pieces are going to move you toward those larger goals. So what you do is you put them on this Post-it note. You just write down these little to-do lists almost, and now you have a menu to pick from when you have a little downtime or you want to know what should I focus on today to start reaching those goals. You have a list of things you can do that might take 15 minutes, some might take an hour. So depending on how much time you have that day, you can pick what you want to do to move toward your goal. So then all you need to do is start kicking butt, and by butt I mean buckets. So start kicking those buckets and moving toward your goals. So it's wall art. It becomes a conversation piece. It's good to have your goals out in public because then it holds you accountable. By talking about your goals and what you want to do, you're making it more real for yourself. So feel free to talk about them. Feel free to make them visible. Or if you're shy, put them behind a door or put them somewhere where only you're going to see them when you're in your office. When you see them every day, they stay top of mind, and that's what you want. You want your goals in the sunlight. And when you have them on a big Post-it note, you can pick from the menu. So this is a very, very simple way to stay organized and make sure that you're consistently moving toward your goals and that you're not letting things fall by the wayside. And then last but not least, you need to keep up with the times. So it's not enough just to have your goals in front of you because, like a lot of wall art, it probably collects dust. You may stop noticing it after a while because when you start seeing something every day, you start to take it for granted. So now what you need to do is schedule time on your calendar every 90 days to review your goals. So you're going to see how far you've gotten, what is working, what isn't working, and what needs to change in order for you to move forward. So keep your notes up to date. Make sure that you're reviewing those skills and tracking your progress because, again, that's something that you might not remember day to day to do. So every 90 days, make sure you're running those numbers, going through your marketing tracking systems, your analytics, all of those things. I actually do this every 30 days, and then every 90 days I kind of do a big brain dump and reset my goals. But every 30 days I'm tracking them and seeing kind of where I am, what needs to change, what do I need to do to move forward. And then you adjust as needed. So that's why we're always trying something, assessing it, and adjusting, which is what an experiment is all about. And that's why we do this every single week. And change your wallpaper. As you're reaching these goals, start making new Post-it notes. As you start setting other goals, make new Post-it notes. Put them everywhere. Plaster your walls. I didn't make a slide for this, but the general categories that you're going to be tracking your goals in will be marketing, sales, and then you might even track some personal goals. So for sales, you might have particular numbers that you want to reach. You might have a particular number of products you want to sell. So if you're launching a new home study product, how many do you want to sell in the next 90 days? Then break down the goals. How are you going to do that? Marketing goals. Maybe you want to build your list to a certain point, or maybe you want to have so many people register for a particular webinar. Write those goals down. How are you going to do that? And personal goals. Maybe you want to make sure that you are keeping a schedule that allows you to spend time with your family. So maybe your personal goal has to do with scheduling, that you're only going to schedule meetings for 4 hours a day, or that you're going to start taking Mondays and Fridays off. What do you need to do in order to do that? Because it's not something you can do cold turkey. So again, it's something you can set as a goal and write down your steps on how you're going to do that. So those are just some ideas for the types of goals you might be setting and using these for. So conclusions, goals might as well be moles if you can't see them. Sometimes the simplest systems are the best. And if you give yourself a menu to choose from during downtime, you're going to increase your productivity. So the more these tasks are in front of you, the easier it's going to be to make sure that you're accomplishing them. And you know you have downtime every now and then. Sometimes during lunch I will, just kick a couple items on my bucket list. If I have 15 minutes before a client call, instead of just sitting there, I might do something that's really quick on my goals list. So there's all these little things that you might forget about unless they are top of mind. So that is my experiment for you today. What I invite you to do is to start using at least some kind of system to track your goals, track your to-dos. This is something that's really, really simple. You could do it also on your computer in the spreadsheet in some kind of document. But what I find is that I have so much stuff open on my computer that I don't necessarily see those things day to day. So by having it outside of your computer on your wall, it's simple, quick and dirty, and old school, so it works. So if you have any questions or if you'd like to share what works for you and what hasn't worked for you as far as tracking your goals, you can either raise your hand by dialing *2 and I can unmute you, or if you're in the web dashboard on the left-hand side, there is a Q&A box. If you can type your question in there, I will take a look-see. And while you guys are typing in your questions or comments, I'll let you know what we're going to talk about next week. So next week, I actually have two things for you. The LOBoratory call, 12 o'clock Eastern Time, as per usual on Wednesday. We're going to be talking about the 2 best ways to build your list. So again, really common question, how do I build my list? Well, there's really 2 methods. There's tons of variations on these methods, but there's really only 2. So we're going to talk about what those 2 are and how to use them to build your list. And then at 2 o'clock on Wednesday, we're going to be unveiling the branding game. So if you've been a part of the Land of Brand for any amount of time, you've probably heard of the branding game. It's a 4-week course where you create your brand strategy, your messaging, what makes you unique, your offerings, or your offerings plan, your target market. Everything that goes into creating a really killer brand strategy is in this program. And we're re-releasing it as a virtual home study, so it's at a very affordable price, and I'm really, really, really excited to share it with you guys. So on Wednesday at 2 o'clock Eastern, I'm going to be doing a webinar where we're going to talk about the 4 steps to building your 6-figure brand, and you guys will be the first to see what's going into the branding game, which is a ton of fun. So if you'd like to register for that, the webinar page is up at thebrandinggame.com. Otherwise, I will be sending out an email tomorrow inviting everyone to the webinar. So I hope to see you next week, and let's go ahead and look at the Q&A and see if we have any questions or comments. Kim says, good morning, Holly. Deborah says, hey, Mommy. It's good seeing you, ladies. And I don't see any questions, and there aren't any hands raised. This was a pretty simple topic, so it doesn't surprise me that there's not a ton of questions. If you guys have questions that come up after we get off the line, feel free to shoot me an email, holly@thelandofbrand.com. And I'm putting together the topics for February, actually right after I get off the phone here. So if you have any topics that you would like to see, email holly@thelandofbrand.com, and I'll make sure that they get on the calendar. If I don't know the answer to your question, then I will find someone that does and bring them on and interview them and let you ask your own questions to them as well. So that is it. I hope you have an awesome, awesome day, and I will see you next week, and good luck with your experiments. Bye.